למה לא ברלין בעצם? למה לא ברלין?
Okay, so we're talking Israelis Sing Europe. We're going to be looking at 3 different songs where Israelis talk about this whole idea of Israelis leaving Israel in order to live in Europe, and in particular, in this song, in order to live in Berlin, the capital of Germany. And the photograph by Stefan Widua on Unsplash. Credit to Stefan. So it all began with the Milky protest. That was the way in which it was connotated in the media. It all emerged when Israelis who had gone to visit Berlin found out that local products that were made in Israel were more expensive in Israel than as export. And that they found that just prices in Israel were incredibly high, even for stuff which had been created locally. And you could actually get, for example, you know, that those yellow croutony things that they call soup almonds or something by Osem are cheaper in New Jersey than they are in Israel when they're actually made in Israel. This is some 3 years after there'd been a whole popular protest against prices. There was a realization that nothing had actually changed. So this protest began, and together with this protest came this call to just leave Israel and go to live in Berlin. A group was set up online, the Olim LeBerlin. We're going to emigrate up to Berlin. As opposed to Olim LeBerlin, which means to go up to Berlin, there were others who were just talking about leaving Israel. And they brought out a meme which said, waiter, there's a fly in my country, as opposed to in my soup. And they say, don't let them mess with your head. Just as you'd exchange your soup if it had a fly in it, it's completely your right to move on and exchange your country that has something rotten inside it. And this rottenness, according to these activists, was the way in which prices and price controls in Israel and monopolies in Israel mean that the standard citizen ends up having to pay out far more than he or she ordinarily would in any other country in the world. This was satirized by many. Shai Chalka took the Danube Holocaust Memorial and added a few Milky cartons to it. And the largest critic was the new finance minister, Yair Lapid, and he responded to questions about these folks who were wanting to go to live in Berlin. He said, a word for all those who've had enough and are leaving for Europe. You happen to have caught me in Budapest. I came here to give a speech to the parliament against anti-Semitism and to remind them how they attempted to murder my father here only because Jews did not have a country of their own. How they murdered my grandfather in a concentration camp, how they starved my uncles, and how my grandmother was saved from the march of death at the last minute. So you'll forgive me if I have little tolerance for people who are willing to throw the only country the Jews have into the garbage because Berlin is more comfortable.
למה לא ברלין בעצם? למה לא ברלין?
So this controversy continued, and possibly to an extent continues to this day, although there's less talk about it. Some 25,000 Israelis are known to be living in Berlin. The majority of Israelis in Europe live in Germany. Over 21% of Israelis in Europe live in Germany. And this led to Ariel Horowitz to write a song. Ariel Horowitz was born to Israeli musical royalty. His mother was the famed Nomi Shemer. The one who wrote Yerushalayim Shel Zahav and Al Kol Eile and Lu Yehi is Ariel Horowitz's mother. He came to fame, first of all, with this great sort of Israeli version of 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover called Yalla Bye. And a weird love song to Renée Zellweger, the actress whose name I can never pronounce. And in actually 2014, he wrote that song, 20,000 Ish, which caught the hearts of Jews around the world when he celebrated the funeral of lone soldier Sean Carmeli in 2014. And by 2017, he also added his musical opinion to the debates about Israelis moving to live in Berlin. So there's one key reference which it's worth looking at before you listen to the song. It comes from the Bible, from Genesis 4. Cain set upon his brother Abel and killed him. Cain and Abel, obviously the children of Adam and Eve. So the first children. The Lord said to Cain, "Where's your brother Abel?" And he said, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" Then he said, God said, "What have you done? Hark, the voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Therefore you shall be more cursed than the ground which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand." This is a key phrase which comes up in the song, Kol dmei achicha, the voice of your brother's blood. So with that, go listen to the song and we'll carry on talking afterwards. If you click up in the top right where there's that little eye, you can go straight to the clip on YouTube, and likewise the link is down below in the comments.
למה לא ברלין בעצם? למה לא ברלין?
The song asks, doesn't it, why not Berlin? And while its haunting chorus offers something of an answer, he hasn't actually said straight up what is the answer. Why not just move to Berlin? First of all, what would you say is Horowitz's answer to the question he poses? Why not Berlin? And what would be your answer? Or would you say, why not Berlin? No problem with Berlin. Why do you think the child features so prominently in this clip? Like the song is talking about the past, and the clip, I guess, has a representative of the future there. And for you, how does this combination of history and the biblical reference affect the way that you hear the chorus of that song?
למה לא ברלין בעצם? למה לא ברלין?
And there you go. That was Israeli Sing Europe number 3, Berlin by Ariel Horowitz. This was brought to you by Makom, the Israel Education Lab of the Jewish Agency, and in partnership with Moishe House. We've been working with Moishe House for a good while on a wonderful project funded and supported wonderfully by the Jim Joseph Foundation. Thanks for listening.